Oh, hello. Um, on this very day, a certain number of years ago, I was in the hospital dying. It was the worst experience of my entire life, and I don't recommend it. 10 out of 10, don't recommend, not even with rice. And I was alone for most of it. But little by little, as I did open up to some friends, I ended up finding that similar stuff like this happens. I don't even know where to go from here. Let me just backtrack and show you guys how I got there. So years ago, I found out that I was pregnant, and I did not want to be. I was not ready for that, and as soon as I confirmed it at home, I made a doctor's appointment, and I went immediately just to get a second confirmation and just find out where to go from there. I had Kaiser Permanente at the time. They suck. First of all, Kaiser, you suck. I'm so happy I'm not with you anymore. But even though we're in California, the bluest state probably in the whole country, you still have to go through quite a few hoops to terminate a pregnancy, and it's scary. And even at the first doctor's appointment, I think it didn't fully set in what was happening. They had to refer me out to Planned Parenthood because Kaiser Permanente refused to do it, which is wild. So they referred me out to Planned Parenthood. I, made the appointment there. I went, and they couldn't see anything, which was weird because I was certainly far enough along for something to be seen, and they couldn't see anything. So they thought, well, maybe you're not as far along as we thought. Come back in 2 weeks or something. Which, when you're trying to not be pregnant anymore, is not what you want to hear at all. Especially when most of the medical workers that you've been interacting with have been telling you things like, are you sure you want to do this? You have to be 100% sure. If you're even 99% sure, we're not going to let you do this. So it sticks with you a little bit. I always knew that I had to end it, but it's just harder when you're getting a lot of opposing pressure to not do it from medical staff and honestly your own body. It's so weird. Like once you get those hormones in your body, there's like this instinct that kicks in that makes you want to protect it, even though your brain is like, no, we're not ready for this. This was always the plan. If this happened, you promised your boyfriend that we would do this. So it was really scary to be receiving all this conflicting pressure from medical staff and your body to not do it, and then being pressured by your partner to do it. It felt like I didn't even have a choice. It really felt like I wasn't even allowed to consider what would happen if I didn't. And I'm reiterating over and over, look at my appointments. This was always what I was going to do. I was constantly taking the steps to end the pregnancy. But it's really scary when somebody's forcing you to do it. And I did have moments of weakness where I would cry and say things like, okay, but honestly, can we just consider, what if we didn't do it? Still gonna do it, but can we just consider what would happen if I didn't? And he would say, no, it's not even a question. You're gonna ruin my life if you do that. That would be the worst thing to ever happen to me. As along the lines of things that he would say. And at one point, he even said that he would break up with me if I didn't do it, and that he would resent me and the potential child. And that's really stuck with me. Because then at that point, and mind you, I haven't told anybody. I think I told one single friend. Couldn't tell my family. I couldn't talk to anybody. was just really scary. And so at that point, it's like, well, if you're making threats like that, why should I consider you in this decision at all? And so I did start to think a little bit more. Should I actually end it? And it's true. That was me reneging. Because I feel like when you start a relationship, you have the conversation of, hey, if you get pregnant, what's the plan? And of course, it's so easy to say like, oh yeah, absolutely, I'm not ready to be a parent yet. No, not anytime soon. But God, it's so much scarier when it's happening to you in real life. So that was really hard. And then I just kept having pain and bleeding, and nobody took me seriously. And then one morning, I woke up at about 4 a.m. to the most intense pain I've ever felt in my life in my lower left abdomen. And it was so sharp and painful. I went to the bathroom because, I'm all of a sudden I'm bleeding a lot, which can't be normal. And I couldn't even stand up because the pain was just so intense. I went to the doctor multiple times, and one of the first times I went, the lady was just like, well, just take some Tylenol. Go home. What do you want me to do? And then I went again later that day because I was still having so much pain. And they said, oh, you're probably miscarrying. Go bleed it out at home. And then over the course of the next few days, I'm just taking medicine to manage the pain, which is constant, and I'm still bleeding a lot. My appetite is weird. Even eating something as small as a grape caused so much pain, so I wasn't really eating. But my stomach was growing a lot. For the span of a few days, my stomach probably expanded from here to here. And it didn't make sense. And I would call the advice nurse and they would say, oh, you're probably gassy. And so, I did take things like Gas X and stuff. And I'm like, I don't think this is helping. And I'm still in a lot of pain. And you know what? It's just so frustrating too, because I know at multiple visits, I did request imaging and I never got it. Like, not like the imaging where like they go on top of the tummy, because that's not in depth. Like, I asked for like more intensive imaging, like where they actually go in, and they wouldn't do it. And I really wish that they would have. I was at work and, trying to suck it up. And then all of a sudden, the weirdest painful sensation came over me again. But this time, it made me really dizzy and faint, and my heart was just racing, and I had this pain in my lower abdomen. I just knew something was wrong. And so I left work early. I called my boyfriend, and I told him, something's wrong. I'm going to the hospital again. I don't feel well. Something is wrong. And he said, okay, well, I have work to do, and it involves other people, and then we're gonna go out and get dinner and drinks with them. So I had to go to the hospital alone. And I was there for about 4 hours by myself. Most of it in the waiting room. Just feeling like I'm dying the whole time. And finally they call me back and they do tests and imaging, and I still remember when they took me down to radiology to do my ultrasound. Finally, I'm getting the in-depth ultrasound. And if you guys know anything about ultrasounds, you know that the techs are not allowed to tell you your diagnosis at all. You have to hear it from a doctor. And so I'm laying there, and I still remember it perfectly. The ultrasound tech is in there, and she seems confused by something. So she gets another tech's input. I don't know if it's like her manager or just another person. And then the other tech goes, yeah, that's her uterus. And then the original tech says, no, that's her uterus. And I'm just laying there like, what are you talking about? What's happening? And they wouldn't tell me anything, of course, because that's part of, you know, their job. Like, they can't, just in case they're wrong. They need a doctor to look at it. So finally, they sent me back upstairs, and I'm still alone, and my phone is dying. I'm hoping that my boyfriend can come as soon as he can, and I decide, because I parked at like a high up level, I'm like, well, since it's nighttime now, I don't want to have to take an elevator or stairs because I won't feel safe. I'm gonna move my car to the first level now that it's starting to clear up. And I get in my car, and I didn't put my seatbelt on. Even though I was in a parking garage, I was going like 5 miles an hour. And something about the beep of the seatbelt that needed to be clicked was just so ominous and foreshadowing. It sounded like a heart monitor. I just knew there was something wrong. I just knew it. Parked my car, got my charger, went inside, charged my phone. Finally, it seems like boyfriend is on his way, so that's nice. And he comes right in time to get the diagnosis. I had an ectopic pregnancy in my left fallopian tube. It ruptured. I've been bleeding internally ever since. They were surprised I wasn't dead, and that if I don't have surgery right then and there, I was going to die for sure. And as an added bonus, the surgery might not go well, and I might die during that too. So here, sign these waivers and paperwork, because you don't have a choice anymore. Really felt like my body, my choice never got to even apply to me. And that part really sucked. So, yeah, for those of you who are wondering, in my nose video that I recently uploaded about when I talked about the traumatic OR experience that I had, there it is. A month ago for my nose, I was in a totally safe environment, safe OR. The PTSD, I just had a moment. I felt like I was back in that first Kaiser Permanente OR all over again, and I burst into tears and had a panic attack, and yeah, it's really affected me ever since. Anyway, the surgery ended up starting at like 10 or 11. It ended around 1 a.m. or 2 a.m., something like that. I barely remember coming out of it. I think I remember asking Dr. Friend, which is funny that the on-call surgeon was named Dr. Friend. She was very, very kind about it. But they went in there with a little laparoscopic surgery, and they made 2 incisions right here on my lower abdomen, and they also went in through my belly button. Yeah, my entire left fallopian tube exploded, so I don't have that anymore. She was able to save my ovaries, so that's nice. They're just kind of like stuck onto the actual uterus, so I still have them for like hormone purposes. I can't use them. So there go half my ovaries. And now I'm at a higher risk of having this happen to me again if I ever become pregnant again. You know, they say, oh yeah, people have ectopic pregnancies and they end up having children later. But I don't read a lot about what happens like if you have like an ectopic rupture. That's what I'm a little scared of. Anyway, so surgery finished, and I didn't even consent to this because clearly like I was under like general anesthesia and barely waking up. I did not consent to being kicked out at 3 a.m., but they did. They wheeled me out, and I couldn't even really stand up all that well by myself. I was extremely nauseous, and it was awful. And a boyfriend drove me back to his place because I still didn't get to tell anybody. Right before surgery, just in case it did go wrong, I called my mom and I lied and I said it was an ovarian cyst. It's not a big deal, but I just want to let you know what hospital I'm at. Don't come! Because I didn't want anybody to find out. Don't come! But, Yeah, I didn't really tell her how severe it was. I remember even before surgery too, once I found out what was about to happen, I called my sister and I'm like, oh hey, I'm at the hospital. And the first thing she says in the most judgmental voice is, what, you're pregnant? And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm not telling you anything. So I also lied to her and told her it was an ovarian cyst. And yeah, I haven't really been able to tell people about this over the years. Just kind of had to keep it to myself. And it sucks because this thing has changed my life so much. I am not the same person I used to be. Because after that, not only do you have like the natural like postpartum of not being pregnant anymore, my hormones after that rupture were just all over the place, and there were like some little complications even from surgery after. I would just have lots of random moments of just being thrown into that feeling of what it felt to be just dying all over again at random. I had no control over it, and the only person I could really lean on was my boyfriend, because I couldn't tell anybody. And I don't fully blame him, because that is a lot of responsibility to put on a single person, but he started to get real sick of me. I couldn't sleep by myself for the longest time, so I was over at his place, and I'm sure his roommates, loved that. But I was just broken for a really long time. I was trying to put myself through therapy. I would try to take myself to the doctor whenever, stuff would spike, and it was just the worst. And boyfriend started to resent me. And so I tried bottling it up even more and not telling him until I was absolutely certain that I needed to go to the doctor, and I would not be able to drive myself. Like, if I try really hard to be independent, but sometimes I just can't. And those were the moments where I just couldn't. And at one point, he was talking about how hard it was having to take care of me when I would have those moments. Mind you, I never stopped him from doing anything or going anywhere. He still continued to live his life as if nothing ever happened. And there I am in the background, in the shadows, just trying to pretend that I don't feel like I'm dying. It's really hard. And then he would, sometimes tell me things like, someone else would have left you by now, right? So the lack of support was really hard. And I had to put myself through therapy to try to minimize these episodes, because I don't want that, and I don't want to get hooked on like Xanax or Ativan to try to like take the edge off whenever I feel it's starting to creep on, even though it did work. But I mean, no, benzos are just the worst. Never get reliant on those. It was awful. And then it would get to the point where I would ask for help, take me to, urgent care, please, I can't drive myself. And he would say like, oh, well, call the advice nurse and then I'll take you. And then he would insist on listening to the phone call to make sure that I wasn't exaggerating my symptoms. Or even when he would come with me the few times to the doctor, he would, sit in and, correct the doctor on things that I was saying from his point of view, because he didn't want me to exaggerate my symptoms. It was a lot. But it just felt like I had to grow up even faster, and it sucked. And one of the worst things about Kaiser is you can't even sue them. If you're a Kaiser Permanente member, you automatically waive your rights to take them to court, and you have to use like their own arbitration system. So nothing ever came out of that. Don't have a fallopian tube anymore. I got dismissed multiple times by multiple doctors. I was refused when I asked for imaging. And the thing is, if we would have caught this sooner, when it comes to ectopic pregnancies, there is a shot that you can have that will terminate the pregnancy, and then you won't have a ruptured fallopian tube. But I didn't get to have that. I didn't even know what an ectopic pregnancy was. Nobody has ever taught me that. Nobody tells you how often even a miscarriage is likely to happen. Yeah, the education system really failed us. So I feel bad for the people that had the displeasure of meeting me ever since then, because I don't even know who that sad shell of a person was. I used to be like a really bright, energetic, bubbly person, and I'm starting to get bits and pieces of that back now. But for the longest time, I was just like an awkward, uncomfortable energy presence around people. There was just no way to explain why. Now, I'm not the smartest person in the world by any means. I'm actually quite bimbo. So I'm going to put some resources in the description down below about ectopic pregnancies, about miscarriages, about what to expect from pregnancy at all, or what to expect if you don't want to be pregnant and you find that you are. I'm going to include that in the description below. But I highly, highly, highly encourage you, if you ever find out that you are pregnant, try your best to make sure that whatever you decide to do is your choice. Because my biggest regret is not having one. Thanks for listening to my story. This video is sponsored by Fabulous. Why do you need Fabulous? Fabulous is the #1 self-care app to help you build better habits and achieve your goals. How do you use Fabulous? Habit changing and habit building is hard. Fabulous makes it easy for anyone to develop and stick to healthy habits thanks to science-backed daily routines. As a result, you will feel healthier, more fulfilled, and productive. Have your own coach in your pocket. Unlike other self-development apps, Fabulous is gentler, more rewarding, fun, and has a more supportive approach. Its interactive system serves as a guide to finding your ideal daily routine and actually make it stick. And if you get premium membership, all content is unlocked. Unlimited number of habits in your routines, daily coaching sessions, all the journeys, all the exercises, and you can restore and back up your journey progress. Start building your ideal daily routine. The first 100 people who click on the link in the description below will get 25% off a Fabulous subscription. Thank you, Fabulous, for sponsoring this video.